This is Susan Wilbanks with blendedinsight.com. I am a holistic and integrative healing arts practitioner, an intuitive, and an energy healer. In this podcast, I share tips, tools, and suggestions that have helped me along my path in hopes of inspiring and helping you along yours. Let's get started with today's podcast topic.
Hello, Bright Soul. Thank you so much for joining me on another podcast. And thank you to those of you who left feedback on my poll for podcast topics you would like to see. And I am going to also cover the boundaries and the grief in another podcast. I'm just doing this one first because it got the most votes for something that you all are interested in. And I thought it might be a really good podcast to do because this is so misunderstood. And I feel like people view cords in a negative way only, and that just simply isn't the case. And it also isn't something to get panicked over. So I want to start out by saying energy cords are just invisible energetic links. They connect us to people, and we create these cords when we're focused on something. So they can be positive and nurturing, and it can also be draining, and it needs to be released. And so anytime I'm cutting cords, I'm cutting the negative connections. So sometimes people even get worried about that. I've worked with people even privately when they go, don't cut the cords to this, something positive. And it's like, no, that's not what we do here. So we're going to cut the negative cords, the ones that are draining. And there's all kinds of things that I can get into this. I'm just going to share from my experience, from what I've learned, what I've seen over the years working with people. So when you have energy cords that are positive, they make you feel supported, loved, balanced. There's an energy exchange, and it reinforces your feelings of safety, joy, and compassion. But when there's negative cords, that's when you start feeling exhausted, agitated, and it can even lead to you replaying past events. So haven't you ever had a situation where you randomly think of someone from your past and then you get an email from them, or you randomly think of someone and they call you? These are energy cords. We're such incredibly powerful energetic beings. You got to remember, before you inhabited this physical body, we're just a boundless energy body floating through the ethers. And so anytime we focus on something, this is what the law of attraction teaches, you start to energize it. You start to become it. You start to bring it into your awareness. And so this is why our thoughts are so important. However, one thing that I notice over and over with cord cutting, in fact, my cord cutting healings on YouTube are my most watched healings because people often blame everything on cords, and that just simply is not the case. So you've got to do a quick check-in with your energy each day to notice where you might feel drained or stuck. And it could be you're moving through layers through your own healing that you need to work out. Usually the first thing people do is blame. It's cords. And when I'm working with them privately, I pull the cords and they're still talking about the cords. So they're the ones energizing the cord. The person's not doing it. They're doing it. So this is why I don't always pull the cord and then tell you where the cord came from, because it doesn't matter. If I tell you, then you start obsessing over why did they cord me or where did it, and then you reattach it, because it's just simply a focused attention where we interact with each other. So there's that other thing that I wanted to talk about where this isn't like a one-time practice. This is like brushing your teeth. This is like meditating. This is a daily thing. It's a way to stay energetically clean and clear, because what I've also noticed is you could just be out in public and someone is admiring you. When they're admiring you, they form an energy connection. You could be doing it to someone else. You could be people watching. This is why when people think, oh, it's so fun to people watch. No, thanks. I don't want to people watch. That's not for me. I don't want to court people and dig into their life. Plus, I have other senses going on, so I know I'm a little bit weird. But if you're admiring someone or focusing on someone, you create a cord, which is why I talk about people in the public. So many people are watching them, scrutinizing them, analyzing them, and every single time there's a cord there. So a lot of these people in public eye are walking around with a lot of cords, to where now when you're tuning into their energy, you're not even picking up like a true essence of who they are. You're picking up all the thought forms that people have sent them along with the cords. So it's really interesting in the energy world, but it's nothing to be afraid of, because all you have to do is good energetic hygiene, like everything else. So cords only hold power if you dwell on them. If you dwell on them with intense emotional charge. So let's not stress over whether or not they exist, because that's what I see the most in these type of communities that you and I are in. So you just got to trust that gentle, regular cord clearing. You can even do this through visualization or grounding. It will keep you clear. So the way I do it is if the connection isn't serving you anymore, quickly release it, dissolve it, and you don't need to revisit the details because you don't want to reattach it. But even if you do, just simply breathe, relax, let it go, and trust in the simple clearings. Because once again, our minds are really, really powerful. So you got to remind yourself energy cords are normal. They're only strong if you feed them. So this is why when people are obsessing, it's like, hold on, this is why I share all these tips to like stop yourself because I can watch the pattern and I do it myself. We all do it. We are all energetic beings learning, evolving, figuring it out. So when you catch yourself obsessing, stop it because you're creating the attachment. Stop it. Release the cord, release the energy, and focus your energy on something else. Because as we know through the law of attraction, it doesn't distinguish between positive or negative. It just amplifies what we focus on. So cords are the same way. If you focus on them, regardless of whether or not it's something you're drawn to positively or challenging, you're energizing it. So the other thing I wanted to share is sometimes when we're working together, we'll clean cords. So if it's a cord, let's just say that you have an argument with a close friend or a relationship or a family member. We clean those cords because if you think about it, it is a two-way connection. So the energetic connection is there and it goes both ways. So if you're both having a really loving space and sending all kinds of positive energy to one another, you feel great, you feel energized. But if there's a dispute where one person is in a bad place and it's like a tube connecting the two of you, one person may be putting some negative emotion in that tube. And if your energy is receptive, then it can just flow right in. And so this is why we just cut the cords, cut the negative cords, do our energetic hygiene and move on. And the same is true for like past events that we're thinking of. It's just connections. And I know I keep saying that, but I want to make sure that I overly emphasize how simple it is because there's no need to freak out over cord. So the other thing I get occasionally is people will go, well, if you just cut the cords and you didn't get the roots, I heard this one healer say one time, okay, listen, in pranic healing, I didn't learn any of this through Reiki, by the way. I've been learning higher levels of healing modalities pretty much since I got on this journey. So I mastered Reiki and then I moved to pranic healing, almost 9 years ago. So, and I also do shamanic training. I do all kinds of training. So cord cutting is not something I was ever taught or it wasn't even mentioned in Reiki. This is something that I really learned in other modalities and particularly in pranic healing, which is the primary modality that I use. We do pull out the roots and we clean all of that out. And we also stabilize the center so nothing can reattach. So you can't prevent other people from thinking about you. You don't have that kind of power and it would be exhausting to even try. All you really need to do is just stick to your spiritual hygiene and your practices. Cut the cords. There's all kinds of ways you can do it. You can do it yourself. You don't need someone else to do it, but I do have all kinds of healings here on my YouTube channel to help you. If you're on Patreon, the same is true for us over on Patreon. Before I learned the techniques with pranic healing, I was just using Archangel Michael, asking Archangel Michael to come in, visualize him coming in and cutting those cords. I mean, there's so many ways to do it. And at the end of the day, the power of your mind, your suggestion, all of your spiritual helpers and teachers and guides, it's immensely powerful. So use those tools. Like I said, what we focus on tends to expand. We can energize it. Our minds are so powerful. So relax into it. Just know, oh, this is the way I connect as an energetic being. It's also the way people connect with me. So there's nothing for me to be worried about. All I have to do is do my spiritual practices, do the hygiene. If someone is thinking about you a lot and they form a cord, sometimes you automatically think of someone, you send them a note and they go, oh, I was thinking about you. It's like, oh, okay, well, there was an energetic connection there. So resolve it and then move on. So also, how are you liking the 30 days of healing and gratitude? Because every single day we are cutting cords and doing a cleanse. So that is one of the ways that I wanted to give back and serve because I feel like, especially with the energy of this planet right now, it's really helpful to come into a healing space, relax, replenish, and make it quick so that it's doable for the busy professional. Because I know this is a busy time of year for all of us. So that is all I wanted to offer. Let's go into a healing. Of course, we're going to cut cords. We'll remove the root, do all the things that I've always been doing for the past almost 9 years, even longer. I learned about the cords, not through Reiki, but through another modality so many years ago. So my healings include that, but we're going to do one specifically for you right here and now. So you can uncross your arms and legs, focus on your breathing. I will turn the healing on. Okay, and so it is. And if you are not over on my mailing list, you can do so over at blendedinsight.com. I appreciate all of the reviews you all have left. It helps to get the algorithm to recommend it to other people who might also benefit. And as always, you have an open invitation for my Patreon community, which is linked in the show notes below. And as always, I wish you the most beautiful, magnificent, light-filled week. And we'll talk next week. Take care. Bye-bye.